Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Interesting things. So now, what's the source for this kafakela? Is it just a figment of our imagination? Is it just something, maybe you made it up? Maybe this, maybe that? Because really, some of the stuff we already said in the first few minutes is kind of crazy in comparison to a regular chью-то in the world. Now, in Kohelet, Ecclesiastes, it says, "V'yusif da'at, yusif machov." The more knowledge you have, the more pain you have. Why the more knowledge, more pain? It's supposed to be knowledge is power. That's the American saying, knowledge is power. No. In real world, in Torah world, the more knowledge, the more pain. Why more pain? You realize how far you are from the truth and how much work you have to do tshuva. There's no frum anymore. There's no religious anymore. There's ba'alei tshuva. That's it. It's the only thing that's available. Alvai, we become ba'alei tshuva. Alvai. Alvai. Someone leaves this world as a full real ba'al tshuva. All these people that think that they're religious because they have hats or beards or this or that, dreaming. I'm telling you from experience. I'm telling you, I see a lot of people. I talk to Hasidim, I talk to secular, atheists, goyim, Jews, whatever. I'm telling you, alvai in this generation, you're a real Baal Tshuva. Alvai. Everyone thinks that they're okay. They're even worse shaped than they thought. They have a bigger spiritual sickness than they thought because they think they're okay. Why? If you're not scared on a daily basis, you're not doing tshuva. You're not doing tshuva. So already we have from Shlomo HaMelech, he told us, you're supposed to be afraid. What are you supposed to be afraid of? First, you're supposed to be afraid of the day of death. Because in the book of Samuel, 1, chapter 25, verse 29, it already talks about kafakela, where David HaMelech's wife, Abigail, tells David, and the soul of your enemies will hurl to kafakela. May all your enemies, may they all go to kafakela. So here we have, this is one of many sources. So you know I'm not making this up. There's no special company I have inside. It's called kafakela. There's really a place called kafakela. So, now this kafakela happens before Geinom. How long is the sentence? According to the Dibukim, that many of the Chachamim, the Mekubalim, the Kabbalists in previous generation and current generation, there's actually a few Mekubalim that talk about this. One specific one, his name is Rav Yosef Shani. Rav Yosef Shani is a very, very big Talmid Chacham, Mekubal in Israel. He is the grandson of Ahavat Chaim. Anyone that knows some mystical books, a lot of really good stories. A very, very famous book called Ahavat Chaim. Ahavat Chaim was a very big Mekubal a little over 100 years ago or so, maybe more. And he saw some serious things in his life. He saw all types of spirits, ghosts, this, that, Dibukim, and so on. He has a book full of these stories. People coming back from death, people dying, this, all types of really, really interesting things. Scary stuff though. But nonetheless, this is his grandson. Now, in the previous generation of 150 years ago, some people like this existed, even a recent 35, 40 years ago. Baba Sali existed, we knew, he was one, there was a few others. Yudaftaya, there was a few. Now, it's very hard to find, because a lot of people say they're Mekubalim, but in reality they're just con artists. But now, if you hear someone to Talmid Chacham, he doesn't have to say much. 5 words come out of his mouth, if what comes out of his mouth, you'll know if he's Talmid Chacham or not. You hear his shurim, he's genius. Genius. And some of the things that he says and some of the things that he experiences and knows and writes about, mamash extraordinary. And he's dealt with dibukim. He's dealt with people that have been possessed. He's dealt with taking the neshama, taking your neshama, putting it somewhere else, and all types of very, very mystical parts we're not going to go over right now. But the point being is that from all of the different people from this generation, previous generation, from the days of the Gemara, from almost 2,000 years ago, all of them, in essence, agree that there's no concept of a limitation of time of how much a punishment is going to be in kafakela. There's no time. It could be 4 hours, it could be 4,000 years. One of the dibukim that Rabbi Yehuda writes about in Minchat Yehuda is that he actually dealt with the dibuk of, with the soul of Shabtai Tzvi Machshimo V'zicho. One of the false messiahs of a few hundred years ago went into a woman named Rosa. And took control and so on and so forth, caused a lot of trouble. But this particular Shabtai Tzvi was a very difficult soul to deal with. But nonetheless, he tells him about a lot of things that he deals with. They burn him, they put him into ashes, they build him back up, torture. So, this is before Geinom. This is before. Now, in the book of Daniel, chapter 12, verse 2. Many of those who sleep, this is what the verse says, many of those who sleep in the dusty earth will awaken. These for the everlasting life, and these others for shame, for everlasting abhorrence. So actually, this particular verse from Daniel 12:2, and from here we learn that the dead people, this is where the Chachamim say the dead people, the bodies in there feel pain. How much pain do they feel? So in the Gemara it says that just like, we actually went over this maybe about 6-7 months ago, just like the pain that a body feels when it's alive from a pin, you take a pin, you put it into your finger. Take a pin, put it into your leg, it's painful, right? It says just like a body that's alive, that has the neshama in the body in the same place, feels the pain of a pin, the dead body feels the pain of the worm that's eating his body. The maggot that's eating his body. Same pain, even more so. Same thing. Yeah, but you're looking at him, he doesn't have a pulse. Feels it nonetheless. You can't see it because your eyes are limited because of your brain. But he feels it 100%, even more so. Now, how long is this Geinom? So a lot of people say, okay, fine, this busha, this, that, 12 months. 12 months is this Geinom. Now, if you go to the book of Isaiah, at the end of the book, chapter 66, verse 24, it says the following: Anashim ha'posh'im bi, ki tola'atam lo tamut ve'isham lo tichbe. And the men that rebelled against me, Hashem is talking. Last verse in there. The men that rebelled against me, for their worms won't die. And their fire, meaning Geinom, will never be extinguished. How long is the sentence Geinom? Torah says forever. Could be forever. Sometimes less, but it could be forever. That's the 7th level, which we'll go over shortly. So anyone that tells you otherwise, give me a verse that contradicts what we're saying, and by Rabbi Hashem, we will change the Torah together. But until you can, this is what the Torah says. Now, everyone knows that before the Mashiach comes, Hashem has to send who? Eliyahu Navi. So Eliyahu Navi wrote a book called Tana Devei Eliyahu, the teachings of Eliyahu Navi. When did he do it? After he left the world. After he left the world, Eliyahu Navi taught one of the Chachamim, Rav Anan. Rav Anan was a Tana, and he came to him and he taught him some Torah. And Rav Anan wrote it. It's called Tana Devei Eliyahu, the teachings of Eliyahu Navi. So you know it's a good place. Why? Eliyahu Navi doesn't say maybe, sometimes, I'm not so sure. He goes, he sees. So there's one place where it says the following: 7 things existed before creation. Before Hashem created the world, there were 7 other things that were already created. What were they? The Torah, Tshuva, Geinom, Gan Eden, Kisei HaKavod, which is the throne of glory, the name of the Mashiach, Ben David, and Bet HaMikdash. Briefly, Torah was created, as we talked about in Masechet Chagigah, says Torah was created 974 generations before Hashem created the world. He took black fire and he wrote on white fire and he wrote the Torah. This is why your Sifrei Torah, regardless of it being already 3,300 years old, we still have the same exact law to use a white background with black ink. You're never going to see a kosher Sefer Torah with green ink. You're never going to see a kosher Sefer Torah with blue ink, with red ink. Even if it's pretty, even if it's nice, maybe you want to highlight Moshe Rabbeinu's name. Not allowed. Why? We're supposed to replicate what Hashem already did 974 generations ago, before 5,778 years. So almost a lot, to be exact. Almost a lot. It's a good exact number. Then he also created tshuva. Why tshuva? Because initially Hashem created the world midat adin, with his name of judgment. He says if there's no judgment, the world is not going to survive. Why? People are going to do whatever they want. I'm going to have to destroy it a week later. But then he said, wait a minute, but if there's only going to be judgment, I'm going to have to destroy it anyway because they're going to make sins. So it's judgment and chesed. But how do we do it? We create the concept of tshuva. They could always do tshuva. I'm going to give every single person a certain amount of time to do tshuva. Some people have 15 years, some people have 100 years, some people have 10 years, and so on and so forth. No one knows how much time they have. No one knows how much time they have. If they did, they would wait till the last minute. That's why Hashem does not allow anyone to live like they did at the generation of Noah, when people lived 1,000 years plus sometimes. Next thing is Geinom. Next thing is Geinom. When was Geinom made? When was Geinom made? On the second day. On the second day of creation, Hashem Yitbarach did not say Tov. He didn't say good. Every other day when Hashem finished the day, it was evening, it was morning, Yom Rishon, Yom Sheni. But before that it says, and he saw it and it was good. Second day, no good, nothing. Third day, double good. Tov me'od. So why no good on the second day? Because that's when he created Geinom. That's when he created Geinom. Wasn't happy about creating Geinom, but nonetheless it's a very necessary part. Why was the third day Tov Me'od? Because that's when he created Satan. Why? Because those are the things that are going to keep people in check. People will do tshuva when they understand that there's a price to pay for sinning against Hashem, sinning against our Father in heaven. He didn't create us because he wants to punish us, but he created us nonetheless to follow his law, and if we don't, there's a price to pay. Just like your kids, if they don't do their homework, if they don't do what Ima and Abba said, they have to have a punishment. If they don't have a punishment, then all you're doing is growing up little Hitlers. That's all you're doing. If you don't punish your kids, then all you're going to have is a little Hitler, eventually grow up to a big Hitler. That's what's going to happen. So, this is where do we learn that from? David HaMelech. David HaMelech, the son that tried to kill him, Avshalom. Why did he try to kill him? Chachamim says he never told him no. You gave him everything he wanted. Eventually he wanted to be a king. He said, no. Oh, what do you mean no? Kill you. So it happened. So the Yaron Navi says, Geinom was created before the world. Gan Eden, following as well, throne of glory, obviously, in the name of the Mashiach. It's not the Rabbi from Lubavitch. It's not J.C. Penney. It's not anyone that you know. It's someone that's actually right now, there is a Mashiach. There is a Mashiach both in the world here, in every generation there's some type of Mashiach, but he doesn't know he's Mashiach. There's someone that in essence has the merit that if Hashem brought the Mashiach, he would be it. In a generation of Rabbi Yehuda Anasi, all of the Chachamim says, if Hashem, if this is the people who know what happens in Shamayim. This is not people just opinions. Oh, guys, what do you think? Who are we going to vote for? Trump. No, Hillary. No, there's no vote. All the Chachamim say, they understand what's happening in Shamayim. Says, if Mashiach came right now, it would be Rabbi. Why? He's the perfect human being. The perfect human being. Gemara actually in Masechet Shabbat says that in the generation of Chizkiyahu, Hashem wanted to bring the Mashiach. He says, you know what? Chizkiyahu made the whole world do tshuva. Look at it. Little babies, 3 years old, already know all the Mishnah by heart. Today, 3 years old, we don't know how to read yet. At 30 years old, we still don't know how to read. But look, they know the whole Mishnah by heart. Gemara says, he wants to bring Mashiach. Shabach Shimon La'ad. Who's it going to be? Chizkiyahu. Chizkiyahu took a sword, said, whoever doesn't learn Torah, I'm going to kill him. That's Kiru for you. I'm going to bring a sword next week, see what happens. So Chizkiyahu, Hashem says, I'm going to bring Mashiach. But then Chizkiyahu didn't sing for Hashem after a big thing happened. What happens? The Satan comes to Hashem and says, look, he didn't even sing to you like his ancestor David. If you didn't make David the Mashiach, how are you going to make him Mashiach? Missed it by song. Missed it by song. But Chizkiyahu was such a Ish Kodesh, they buried him with a Sefer Torah. Never again does it happen. Why? They said him and the Sefer Torah, same thing. Same thing. Gemara Masechet Moed Katan. Now, how do we know? Oh, last thing is Bet HaMikdash. Bet HaMikdash is Shlishi for all of the people that want to build a Bet HaMikdash. You don't need to. It's already prepared and it's already in Shamayim. When Hashem is ready to give us the Bet HaMikdash, we don't have to build anything. There's no contractors needed. There's no cement needed. There's no gold needed. Nothing is needed. It's coming down ready. Stop wasting your money trying to build a Bet HaMikdash that's not necessary. You don't need to buy any land. You don't need to worry about the Arabs. You don't need to worry about the Christians. You don't need to worry about nothing. Just survive. Just survive. Just survive. That's all you got to do. Survive. How do we survive? Don't go to Geinom. How do we not go to Geinom? We keep learning the shiur. So now, Tana Dev Eliyahu says, how do we know Geinom predated creation? How do we know? You look at Sefer Yeshaya, chapter 30, verse 33. It says, for Tifteh. Tifteh is another name for Geinom. Tifteh, Geinom has 7 names. 7 names, I'll go over it in a moment. And 7 names. It says, for Tifteh had been prepared yesterday. It had been readied even for the king. He, meaning Hashem, has deepened and widened it. Why is he deepened and widened the Geinom? So many Reshaim in every generation, he has to make it bigger. Its inferno has much fire and wood, and the breath of Hashem is like a steam of sulfur burning within it. So just so you know, every single human being on earth has a, thank you, has a kaparat avonot, has a mamash, a suffering that no human on earth can tolerate. What suffering is it? Smelling the smell of sulfur. Unless you've lost your sense of smell, you cannot tolerate the smell of sulfur. Why? Why can't you tolerate the smell of sulfur? If you go to Yam Melach, you go to the Dead Sea, certain parts of it smell like sulfur. I remember one time we went there a few years ago, and there's a hotel. In the hotel, they have like different salt bath, this bath, that bath, and there was one bath that was a sulfur bath. What a stench. Awful. Supposedly, it's supposed to be healthy, but the stench is mamash unbelievable. Why? Why? But it's not just me, every person. You, me, everybody. Why? Because your neshama knows a secret. What's the secret? That's the chemical they use in Shamayim and Geinom. Same smell. In Geinom is sulfur. Your neshama, no, take me there. Finishes the tshuva. Your neshama can't tolerate it. So now this is, again, from Tanakh, Yeshayahu 30:33. You want to check it? Be my guest. This is from Tana Dev Eliyahu. And then he says the following. The word Tifteh means Geinom, which was created before the universe was brought into being. When the Holy One, blessed is He, created Geinom, He praised all of His works. Even Geinom is worthy of God's praise, since it indirectly preserves the world, because a fear of Geinom impels the Jews to observe the Torah. Without it, the world would cease to exist. And for it says in another pasuk in the Torah, in Sefer Bereshit, Genesis chapter 1, verse 31, God saw all that He has made, and behold, it was very good. What is very good? The Midrash says that very good refers to Geinom, and second day is Satan. Sorry, I mixed the two before. But nonetheless, it's the same exact thing. So now you have yourself another source, Tana Dev Eliyahu. You have a problem, call Eliyahu Navi. Maybe I'll help you out. Now, as we continue, we just realized that this Geinom, some people made a video about how it's not true. how it's not true, how Geinom is a figment of our imagination. It's a figment of our imagination. And someone that I know that's a nice guy and means well, unfortunately is mistaken terribly about this specific issue. Why? Because he looked at the source of the word Geinom, and he's right about one thing, where the source of the word Geinom is. He's wrong about everything else. Now what's the source of the word Geinom? The source of the word Geinom is the valley of Ben Hinnom. Gei Ben Hinnom, which was a person that lived in the times of kings. In times of kings, a few thousand years ago, 3,000 years ago. Now this was a place where, that was called Tophet. This is in Kings 2, chapter 23, verse 10, and it's also mentioned in a few other places. Because they made up places in Yerushalayim over there, and they brought human sacrifices. They brought human sacrifices to a statue called Molech, and they took little Jewish babies and kids in Israel, Jews, and they sacrificed them to a statue. But here the difference is, so that's why they call this place Geinom. And they said that this what they're doing over here, burning Jews and so on, to statues and so on, is Geinom, in essence, is a symbolic of bad. What's the worst thing that we can think of? Geinom, hell. So that's the source of the word Geinom. But Geinom is not the only name. Geinom is not the only name that Geinom has. If you look at the Zohar Kadosh, you look at a few other places in the Reshit Chokhmah, you're going to find out a few interesting things. First off, it says you go to Reshit Chokhmah. We're going to go to Reshit Chokhmah, so none of you think I'm making this up. I'm just writing notes out of thin air. And not just you guys, I'm referring to anyone that's watching it, because I'm sure I'm going to have a bunch of fan mail after this shiur. So in the Gemara, Masechet Shabbat, Daf Lamed Aleph, Amud Bit, 31 bit. It says that Hashem created the world for the sake of Yirat Shamayim. Hashem created the world for the sake of you fearing Him. He wants you to fear Him. העושה הפך, זה נוח לו שלא נברא. And someone does the opposite, it's better that he wasn't created. Why? Because now Hashem has to punish him. Hashem didn't create you because He wants to punish you. He created you because He wants to reward you. He wants to give you a reward. He wants you to do mitzvot. But nonetheless, that does not mean that there's a free ride, like everybody thinks. There's no free ride just because Hashem loves you. Just because you love your kids doesn't mean you can do whatever they want. Any normal person understands that. But unlike a parent of flesh and blood that's limited with their feelings, Hashem is not limited. So now, if we look at the books, we'll look at the book of Nehemiah the prophet, chapter 9, verse 6. It says, ואתה מחיה את כולם, ואילו חס וחלילה יצויר העדר, שפכו מכל העולמות, אפילו רגע אחד התבטלו כולם, והיו כלא היו. כי כלום צריכין אליו והוא אינו צריך להם. חייב ליראה ממנו ולקבל עליו עול תורה ועול מצוות. In so many words here, they use the prophet Nehemiah. They say, it's better that everything in the world cease to exist. It's better that all of us cease to exist. Everything cease to exist if there's no Yirat Shamayim. It doesn't mention love Hashem. It doesn't mention loving Hashem. Mention love Hashem is a higher mitzvah, but Hashem we get there. But nonetheless, basic connection with Hashem is knowing who we're dealing with. Knowing who you're dealing with, already we start with Yirat Shamayim. It says it's better that it was all cancelled. All creation was cancelled, and there will be no Yirat Shamayim in the world. In Sefer Shmot, in the book of Exodus, which we started this week, in a couple of weeks we're going to get to chapter 20, verse 2, and get the 10 Commandments. It says, Anochi Adonai Elohecha. It says, I am your God. I am Hashem your God. What does it mean? This is officially the first mitzvah that Hashem Yitbarach gave to Am Yisrael to know, fear me. Of course they know He's God. He's talking, things are moving. No, what's the mitzvah of Ani Hashem Elokecha? I am God. But they don't know He's God. He just killed all the Egyptians. 900 million people in 5 seconds. He made plagues, made this, made what? They don't know. Fear me. That's the mitzvah. First commandment, all of Am Yisrael gets, I'm God. What does it mean I'm God? Fear me. Now, if we move on, you see the following. First off, another reason of why Geinom was an appropriate name, aside from the person that was a Rasha Me'usha in a place that was of wickedness happened, there's another reason that Reshit Chochmah says is why it's called Geinom, is because it's called Geinom because the screams and growls from Geinom reach from one corner of the world until the end. The screams of what's happening over there, very much alive and real. There's no busha. We're not talking about a shame. No one says, oh, you embarrassed me. No one said that yet. The screams of pain and agony reach from where it is until the end of the galaxy, until the end of the universe. That's why it's called Geinom. V'lama nikra shemo tafteh. Why is it called tafteh? Because the root of the word tafteh is pitui. Pitui means to entice. To entice meaning all of the ones that go to Geinom was because of the enticement of the Yetzirah. Yetzirah came and he said, do this, this, and this. They followed, Hashem Yirachem, Hashem Yirachem. Only bad things happened. Now, there are several names for Geinom. And it says here in Perek Rishon of Masechet Geinom, Shlosha she'arim yesh beGeinom, echad bayam, echad bamidbar, vechad bayishuv. It says there are 3 gates to Geinom. One is Bayam, one is in the ocean. One is Bamidbar, one is in the desert, where they put Korach. One is Bayishuv, which is Yerushalayim. How do we know? Zoshe Bayam, minayin she'emar. Where do we know it's from? It's in the ocean. The book of Yonah, chapter 2, verse 3. Mi beten sheol shivati shamati koli. Yonah says, one of the names of Geinom is Sheol. You took me out of there, Hashem. It wasn't just some big dolphin or a whale. Mamash Geinom. You took me out of there, Hashem. That's one of the sources. Where do we know it's from Midbar? When do we know it's in the desert? Minayin. Bamidbar, we have Sefer Bamidbar, Numbers, chapter 39, verse 33. Vayirduhem v'kol asher lahem chaim sheola. And they all were thrown into there, they all fell into there, into Sheola. What's Sheola? Sheola, again, Sheol means Geinom. Who are we talking about? Korach ve'adato. The ground opened up, swallowed them up, and they're still there today. Where do we know by Yishuv? Where do we know that it's in Yerushalayim? Book of Isaiah, chapter 31, verse 9. Ne'um Adonai asher ulo betzion v'tanur lo b'Yerushalayim. There's an oven in Yerushalayim. What's your oven in Yerushalayim? Gate of Geinom. So here we see that already things are a little bit different. Have you heard so far anything about busha? Anything about embarrassment yet? I'm still looking. Now this same Geinom, we learn a lot from Eliyahu Navi about it. But one of the places it says, Eliyahu Navi says, some say, there's the openings in the ocean, in the desert, and in the Yerushalayim. And some say it's in Shamayim. What do you mean some say? What do you mean? You're Eliyahu Navi, you can go there. If it's one of the Tanaim, if it's Rabbi Akiva, if it's Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, if it's somebody from this generation, if it's somebody knows who doesn't know, fine, some say, some say. But you're Eliyahu Navi, you're living in Olam HaEmet. What do you mean some say? Some say, the Chachamim explain, there's two Geinoms. There's one literally in this world, in this globe that we're in, that's below us. The other one is above the Rakia. There's two Geinoms. There's also two Gan Edens. There's one here and there's one above. Some say you're referring to the ones that have the openings here, Yerushalayim, the desert, the ocean. Some say that, but some are referring to the one that's above. Some, that's what he's talking about. Not that there's two opinions. There's no two opinions in Eliyahu Navi. He says, depends who you're talking about. The one here or the one there. So now this Geinom, Eliyahu Navi gave Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi a tour of Geinom. In the Gemara Masechet Eruvin, Daf Yutet Aleph, 19a, Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi says, Shiv'a Shemot yesh leGeinom ve'elu hem. There are 7 names to Geinom, and these are them: Sheol, Avadon, Be'er Shachat, Bor Shaon, Tita Yaven, Tzalmavet, Ve'eretz Tachtit. So you have 7 different names aside from Geinom. The Geinom is the 8th name. Geinom is the 8th name. These are 7 names. Where do we know? Where do we get the sources for these? Each one of these names has a verse, at least one. Many have more than one verse in the Torah of where they get it from. It's not, oh no, I think it's this. No, I think there's no opinions. Nothing that I've given you so far is an opinion. Everything has to have a verse in the Torah. This is Emet. This is from Hashem. This is from Mount Sinai. Book of Yonah, chapter 2, verse 2. Tehillim, Psalms, Peichet, 68. Chapter 68, Tehillim 68, verse 12. Same place again, Tehillim 55, verse 24. Again, Tehillim 40. Tehillim talks about it a lot. Verse 3, Tehillim 107, verse 10. Book of Isaiah, chapter 30, verse 33, which we went over already, and again, Tehillim in another place. So here already we see that there's countless places in the Torah by David HaMelech, by Moshe Rabbeinu, and so on and so forth. There's also a midrash that talks about how when Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Shamayim, Hashem gave him a tour. What did he give him a tour of? He says, Hashem, show me your kavod. What does it mean, show me your kavod? Show me why you do what you're doing. Why do you decide to give this guy schar, this guy gets reward, this guy gets punished? Why? He says, I can't show you my face and live. What do you mean face? Hashem doesn't have a face. There's no face. Someone thinks that Hashem has a face, a kofel. It's a heresy. There's no face. So what does it mean? I can't show you what I'm doing right now because you won't understand. I can't show you where you're still in the body. But I can show you my back. What's my back? Things I've already done. So he showed him everything that happened in the past, from creation all the way to then. Noah, the generation of Noah, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Then he showed him the future. He showed him Rabbi Akiva. He showed him our generation, Hashem Menachem. He showed us a lot of things. He showed him. He saw Rabbi Akiva, and he said, Hashem, if you have such a person like this, why are you giving me the Torah? Give it to Rabbi Akiva. He says, no. And then he sees Rabbi Akiva's end, and he sees how the Reshaim, the Romans, peeled his skin, like you peel a potato, and he started crying hysterically. This is Torah, and this is the schar, this is Torah, this is a book of Torah, this Rabbi Akiva, and that's the reward he gets. Hashem says, be quiet. You're not allowed to see my face and live. Meaning, you're not going to understand what I explained to you, why I'm doing what I'm doing over there. Because you're still here, you're still living in the world. Even though technically, his body was here and his neshama was in Shamayim at this time, nonetheless, he was still living. After this, Hashem Yitbarach decided to show Moshe Rabbeinu Gan Eden and Geinom. When Moshe Rabbeinu got to Geinom, he said, "What is this place?" He screamed, "What is this place?" He saw the screaming, he saw the fires, he saw the different types of fires, he saw the punishments, he saw all types of awful things we'll go over momentarily. Hashem, what is this? Hashem answered Moshe, "This is a place that I made to punish the Reshaim that go against me." Moshe Rabbeinu started shaking hysterically. He didn't know if he's classified as a Rasha. He thought he's going there. He thought, he brought me here because I'm the Rasha. I hit the stone instead of talking to it. I'm a Rasha maybe. He started shaking uncontrollably. Until Hashem says, "Don't worry, you will never see this place again. You're okay." If Moshe Rabbeinu thought he's a Rasha, what about us tzaddikim? So, we see that the ones that were really tzaddikim were very worried about this place. Very, very worried about this place.